Hey everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. Today on the Bones Collector I'm going to be talking about a couple of games that are very similar to each other and forces everyone to compare them. And you've seen threads on Board Game Geek where people talk about the differences between the two, but I thought I'd weigh in on that, and I played both of these recently, and let me start off by saying I really like both of them. They're very good puzzle games. It's exactly what you're doing in this game is creating a puzzle, or solving a puzzle rather, and they have a couple of different themes. First, this is a game called Sagrada, and Sagrada is the Sagrada Familia. It's a church in Spain, Barcelona or something, but this is a stained glass window puzzle that you're going to put together, and it has, I'll show you some of the components here, but it has a piece of stained glass like this here that you're going to be playing with. That's your player board, essentially. That's all you're going to have, and the game comes with many of these cards that you can slip right into them, and they go from like easy to hard. So depending on what skill level you are at the game, or the skill level of the players involved, you have to choose whether you want to have a hard puzzle or an easy puzzle. That's simple enough. But you slide that right in the board, and then you proceed to roll dice and solve that puzzle. Now there's some, it sounds easy, but there's more to it than that. And you see some of these have colors on them. You have to put the proper color of die in that square. Some of the squares have a pip total on it. You have to match that pip total to put that dice there. That sounds easy, but it's not, because you can't put the same color of dice next to each other, and you can't put the same number next to each other. So that's where the puzzle comes in. And then also it comes with some cards that give you some special powers. They're called tool cards, where you can spend some favor tokens and mitigate some of that bad luck you may have rolling dice, and change some of the dice. Has some special powers. Again, you have, depending on the difficulty of the puzzle, you have so many favor tokens to spend. But then you also have some cards that are end game scoring cards, where you can meet some bonuses, like some of the columns. If you have one of the cards, I believe, says if you have different numbers in the columns, you can score 5 points. Well, if you have different numbers in 4 different columns, you're going to score 20 points, and so forth. But some of them are about rows. But anyways, there's some end game goal cards that you can gives the game a little more complexity and makes it a little more fun. And that's basically Sagrada. And it's a very fun game. It's a game that I think is very good for newbies, people who don't play a lot of board games. Not that it's easy, but it's easy to understand. And that's very important when you're playing with people that don't play a lot of board games. So that's Sagrada. And the other game I want to talk about is Roll Player. And in Roll Player, you're creating a fantasy character. As you can see, it says so right there. A dice game of fantasy character creation. That's how I know that that's what this game's about. But in this game, you're going to have, very similar to Sagrada, a board where you're going to be placing dice that are rolled. And it is a character, a fantasy character. Dragonkin, for instance, is one of them. And you get various player boards: halfling, dwarf, orc, human, elf, and dragonkin, and those are the ones that come in the game. And it was a nice a little effect they did. Is one side is male, one side's female, so that's pretty cool. And then on these player boards, you're simply going to be placing dice in these rows, and you're going to have attributes, they call them. Was there 1, 2, 3, 6 attributes? And every time you place a die in that attribute, you take this special function on the outside, and you'll have a card that there's a deck of cards with class on them, a deck of cards with backstory, and those also tell you how you can score points while you're placing dice on this player board. So the game changes every time you play it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of variability in the game, setup variability in this game, and then there's an alignment card over here where you're moving a cube around to score some more points. So, and then also in Roll Player, you have a market and a deck of cards that you're going to be purchasing with gold that you earn, and they're like armor and weapons that you're going to give your character. And these cards score you points at the end of the game or during the game. But yeah, so you're going to be buying cards from that market. So that's kind of an added thing that Sagrada doesn't have. You're going to be purchasing market cards for various point totals during the game. So that's pretty cool. And that is probably it for Roll Player. Now, which game do I like better? I tell you, they're both really, really good. I like both these games, and they're both in my library right now. So that says something, because believe it or not, I keep a 200 game library here at my house, and that's hard to do. I find that very difficult, and because there's so many board games out there I really, really like, and I like to keep them and revisit them and go into that world and enjoy playing those games over and over again. I'm just passionate about board games, and all of these board games that you see me doing these videos, we purchased, and because this is my hobby. It's not something that I ever want to get paid for. It's not something that I do out of any kind of obligation, other than I love to play the board games. And so when I talk about these games, they're games that, again, that I went out and purchased because I've looked into them, I've seen how they've been played, and I think I like them, so I buy them and play them, and if I don't like them, they go, and if I love them, they stay in my library. But the one thing I like Roll Player just a little better for me. Now, my wife Lori likes Sagrada a little better, but for me, I like Roll Player because it just feels less lucky. And now, Sagrada, I mean, it's not a luck game by any means, but there was a point in the game that I could not roll what I needed, and there was no way to mitigate the bad roll. I needed 2 squares to fill up on my player board of certain colors. I think one was purple, one was green, and because I had dice all around it, it was hampering me on what pip total I could put in there, because you can't put the same pip total next to like a 3 next to a 3. So it had 4 dice around it with different pip totals on it. The only thing left was a 1 and a 3, and I had to roll that color of dice and have a 1 or a 3 to place it there. And I tried on 3 different turns, and I couldn't get either one of those, and that really frustrated me. And there was no way I could fix that. Now, in Roll Player, you have that market of cards, and if you are not rolling the dice you need, you can always buy cards, and maybe you'll get something turned up in the market that you really need. And lo and behold, when I played Roll Player, my wife Lori, she filled every one of her attributes, and in a certain way you have to do that. So she had them all perfect, every one of her attributes, and I had 2 that were not complete, and I still beat her because of the market cards that I purchased. I was able to get enough points through those cards to win that game. So I like that. I like that because I am a notoriously bad dice roller, and when you have that affliction, it never goes away. You're always going to be a bad dice roller. So when I play games, and I don't keep games that are luck based, games that I keep, I want to be games that we can play and we live or die on the decisions that we make. I like that in my board games. I don't like luck. I don't like roll to resolve of any kind of luck like that. I just don't care for it in my board games. But both these games are very, very good. I just give the edge to Roll Player a little bit because I felt like I was more in control, and I do like being in control. So I gave it a little bit of a nod, but again, they're both very, very good. They're both kind of that same puzzly type of game where you're trying to put that dice puzzle together in a way that's going to score you the most points. And yeah, I mean, I really like both of these games. They're both going to stay in my library for right now. I like both themes. I like the theme of both these games. Of course, this is a fantasy theme, where this is a real world theme, and generally speaking, I like real world themes better. I like economic simulations and those kinds of things that my board games would be about real things. But in this case, This is a very Euro style, very puzzly type of fantasy game where you're building your character and you want to make your character as powerful as possible. And I know there's an expansion where you go fight and stuff with this character after you build up the character. Well, I'm not interested in fighting. I'm not interested in having the character go into battle. I don't care. I just want to build the character as powerful as he can get, and the one that does that the best is the winner of the game. And you don't need to buy any kind of... I'm not an expansion buyer anymore. And if you buy Roll Player or Sagrada, you're going to get a great game. They're very, very fun, very good games. You don't have to buy anything else after you buy these games, so don't worry about that. And yeah, you can feel pretty confident about it. But they're both excellent games. Again, I like Roll Player just a little bit better because I'm more in. I just felt like I was more in control because you got that market of cards that you don't have in Sagrada. So, you know. I think if I was playing with noobs, if I had some people over that don't play a lot of board games, I'd probably get out Sagrada because it's a little, I think, a little easier to understand. But both great games, and hey, that's Roll Player and Sagrada as fast as I could do it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. Yeah, if you know, I love every one of my subscribers. I love all you guys that subscribe. I think I'm up to 104 now. What a great crowd of people. You know, you guys have great taste and have a great time gaming. And we'll see you next time on The Bones Collector. Bye-bye.